Again, I'm belaboring this point because, honestly, I'm a little tired of hearing it, to be blunt about it. It's when you read certain commentators and they're, there's just nothing to this idea. This is silly. Really? Yes, there are humans in view, but there are also supernatural entities in view. These things are married in Daniel 10, and they're married elsewhere. That's the only point. In other words, you shouldn't exclude supernatural powers. And I think in 1 Corinthians 2, this is specifically what's going on here. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm going to show you some pushback on this idea. This is the kind of thing you're going to read in some commentaries. I mean, other commentators I could quote, to validate what I'm saying here. But I want to go to Gordon Fee's commentary. Let me make it a little larger. Because I think, in view of Fee's good reputation as a scholar, to me this is a real oversight. He says here, as to the first question, there's been a growing consensus over many years that the rulers are demonic powers. So he admits that the consensus would be on my side. Or at least that these words Paul wants the Corinthians to see, or in these words, he wants the Corinthians to see demonic powers as lying behind the activity of earthly rulers, at the very least, okay? This oft-repeated assertion needs finally to be laid to rest, since the linguistic evidence, the context, and Pauline theology all argue against it. I'm arguing they all argue for it. And I'll show you why in a moment here that he's wrong. Given the evidence of verse 8, the rulers must include these responsible for the crucifixion. Again, nobody's denying that. What we're saying is don't exclude the spiritual powers, and that makes more sense in 1 Corinthians 2, and in other passages, it can be both. So it sounds impressive. The linguistic evidence, the context, the Pauline theology all argue against it. It sounds really impressive, and of course the wording is categorical. Wouldn't it be great if the word in 1 Corinthians 2 did appear, again, in the plural, referring to supernatural beings somewhere else? Well, here we have BDAG. This is the leading lexicon of the New Testament, New Testament Greek. Archon, archontos, and right here we have transcendent figures, evil spirits, with a whole bunch of citations of literature outside the New Testament, both earlier and contemporary. So where's the disconnection here? I would go further, though, and say of this passage, wouldn't it also be great to find a clear example of archon in the plural that pointed to supernatural rulers in Greek material from the Second Temple Jewish literature that's familiar to New Testament writers? Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, lo and behold, here we have the book of Enoch, 1 Enoch 6:7, and we have the reference to these are the names of their archonton, of their leaders. And I think I have, there's Enoch in English. So these are the names of their leaders. And then you have a list of the watchers. These are the Genesis 6 characters, the sons of God, the fallen sons of God, in Enoch's retelling of the story. Right there it is. Archonton. They're archonton. These are definitely supernatural beings. They're not people. And at the end, these are their archai. This is the other word in the other Corinthians passage and in Ephesians. These are their archai of tens, okay? These are their chiefs of tens. These guys right here, they're archai and they're archonton. Now, I don't know how Fee missed this, but the linguistic evidence is on my side. Okay, let's be clear about that. His argument does not hold water. Wouldn't it be even better, okay, to know that archon was used in Septuagint manuscripts in Daniel 10? Let's take it another step further, which is directly related to the Deuteronomy 32 worldview. Oh, that would be awesome. Now, here's a quote from Unseen Realm, and I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to cite another authority, David Owen, at the end here. While archon, along with the rest of Paul's vocabulary, is found in the New Testament and elsewhere for human rulers, it makes little sense for Paul to see irony in the fact that humans didn't know God's mystery plan. I mean, how would they? Involved in the death and resurrection. You would think, since it's God's plan, that somebody in the heavenlies would know. Okay, that his enemies might know, but they didn't. Again, that's the irony, that God successfully kept them in the dark. As Owen notes, The term archontes, used as a designation for angelic beings, first occurs in the Septuagint of Daniel 10:13, and 7 times in Theodotian Daniel. Those are different manuscripts of the Septuagint, in Daniel 10:13, 20, and 21. Let's just click out here to the Septuagint. Now we're reading here the Lexham English Septuagint. Here we have, I'm going to click on the word commanders. There it is, archon tone. It's Daniel 10:13. Same word that we're finding in Paul. Again, this isn't really hard to find. And the alternate texts, same thing, archon, archon tone, archontos. This is Daniel 10:13. In those Greek texts of Daniel, chapter 10, the Prince of Persia, Prince of Greece. Again, I'm belaboring this point because, honestly, I'm a little tired of hearing it. To be blunt about it. It's when you read certain commentators and they're, there's just nothing to this idea. This is silly. Really? Really, you have it in contemporary literature. Septuagint, Second Temple text, that's a translation of the Old Testament done in the Second Temple period. You got Enoch, and you've got other references too, in BDAG and other Greek literature. Lastly, I'll say it again, wouldn't it further be great if this word was from the same root as another related word, arche, that was used in the plural, archai, for evil supernatural beings? Again, we already looked at this, right there it is, archai. My point to Fee and others is, this notion that, it never occurs in the plural and these terms aren't mixed, and this is grasping at straws. The terms don't need to, it doesn't matter if it's singular or plural. Both happens. The plural, as Paul uses it, is found in Enoch and, of course, in Daniel in the Septuagint. So this whole notion of his argument, the linguistic evidence, this is just like generic rulership or human rulership, is not well-founded.